Well, we're coming into the last part of our programme here today, and we're going to take a look at Côte d'Ivoire, where on Sunday the people of Côte d'Ivoire will be going to the polls to elect their president. This 5 years after the vote that sparked massive violence and ended only after the arrest of Laurent Gbagbo, who was the former incumbent, who refused to recognise his rival's officially declared win. Now, Alassane Ouattara is standing again and looks to be heading for a first-round win. For analysis on the situation and to discuss the challenges the country faces, I have here with me in the studio Florent Geel, is that how you pronounce it?
Geel in English.
It's Geel in English, you're the head of the Africa Bureau at the International Federation of Human Rights Organizations. Now, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much.
Now, is Ouattara's widely announced win the sign that he has managed to rally supporters around him and formerly hostile communities, particularly in the west of the country, the wild west of the Côte d'Ivoire?
Yes, I think we can say that. That doesn't mean that everyone is agree with Alassane Ouattara, but basically the peace came back in Ivory Coast, and especially in this area that you point out, the west of the country, that is the base, the political base and the political
hotbed, I suppose you can say.
Florent Gbagbo and his party, and Alassane Ouattara during the last 4 years made a lot of political sign and symbolic sign to have more peace and to be more approach of the people. But basically, people are waiting, and we are waiting also a real process of justice to show to those people that they're dead, their parents dead. You remember that in this town of Jouékoué in 2011, more than 800 people died by the pro-Ouattara forces. It was clearly a massacre.
Sure.
So I think people are waiting for justice also and for their own dead people.
So can we say in brief now that Ouattara's first mandate, he has been very much a conciliatory president?
He tried to be, without to forget to be also the president of his own party and his own community, and he remains very strong on the basic, but basically he always keep the flow that justice will come, and sometimes it was difficult to get some good arbitrage, but basically for the moment the process is not going so well. But in the same time, there is no sign against this possibility of making justice for the victim of the crisis, and also the situation, the economic situation. Also, it's quite better now with the 10% of.
It's booming, basically.
Yeah. So, and people are waiting for that also.
Now, in September, Ouattara toured the former heartland of Gbagbo supporters in the West, including Gagnoa, and received what appeared to be a very enthusiastic welcome. And in comparison, earlier this month, Pascal Affi N'Guessan, Gbagbo's from the Front Populaire Ivorien party, the official candidate of the Gbagbo party, managed to gather only a few hundred supporters. Now, is this typical of a large degree of wariness on the part of the communities down there rather than real support for Ouattara?
I don't think so too. There is three basic causes of this phenomenon. First, you don't avoid that the president is the main political figure of the country. So there is also a prime for the president and for the stronger actors and the deference for the authorities. That is good, actually. Secondly, there is a main political crisis inside of the FPI, the Laurent Gbagbo parties, between the legitimists that support Laurent Gbagbo and see in him the legitimate president and etc., and the pro N'Guessan partisans that want to have to act that Laurent Gbagbo is currently before the International Criminal Court in The Hague, will not come back on the next months and have to find a new challenger to win the presidency and to lead the country and to be the candidate of those people.
The party. Now, just looking at these polls coming up on Sunday, how strong does ethnic identity remain as a political force in Côte d'Ivoire?
This identification exists, but a lot of people saw Africa has adjusted ethnic policy management. That is not. The political fight in Africa are, like everywhere in the world, very political. And the last election, presidential election, show also that why Alassane Ouattara won at this time, it was because people made the choice of political choice, mean that there is pro-Gbagbo supporters who vote at this time for Ouattara because they wanted to end the mass and have peace, etc. So that's showing also the capacity for Ivorians to vote for a candidate, for a program, and not just because they are from this ethnic, etc., etc. But in the same times, the solidarities and the parenté, as we say in French, are very strong and remain something important for the politicals men to get their own networking, etc., etc. So it's a mix between the two of us.
Got you. Now, let's just take a look back into the past and to 2002. The 2002 rebellion, which we remember well here at RFI, was sparked off by grievances against Abidjan and the central government, who were blamed for neglecting the north of the country. Now, in the west of Côte d'Ivoire, the same complaint is also being heard today. Now, is that a fair complaint? Do they have something? Do they have a genuine case here to be saying that they're being neglected?
In a part, and not really. Also, there is no easy answer to this question. The problem of the West is clearly the immigration and, of course, the question of the land, how to share the land and how to integrate people coming from the north and from the Burkina Faso, the Chula people, who are coming to work into the plantation of coffee plantation and cocoa plantation, etc. So it's the main problem of the Côte d'Ivoire, and Ouattara have to manage a new law to solve this problem that create a lot of conflict.
This is, of course, the Ivoirité.
Absolutely.
This is one of the questions that we were going to move on to, is that Ouattara has now announced his intention, if he's elected again on Sunday, to amend the constitution, especially to amend the clause about Ivoirité, or Ivorian identity. Now, this is an issue, of course, that we all know has plagued political life in Ivory Coast, or Côte d'Ivoire, for decades. Now, it affects not only who can stand in the elections, but as you were just saying there, it affects land ownership rights. And in a nutshell, it recognises an Ivorian only as those who are born of Ivorian parents, not just in the country. Now, what chances of success has Ouattara got to make that change, and what will be the impact of it if he implements it?
It will not be easy, but he have to raise the question, definitely, because he have to open the flow, but not in a political way and inflammative way or
incendiary way. Yeah,
exactly. This question have to be raised by the whole society, and they have to decide what they want for the country. That's something sure, is that you can't expose the billion of people who are staying in Ivory Coast for decades, and they are Ivorian, and they will remain. But in the same times, Ivory Coast are facing of a large movement of immigration from Burkina Faso, and they have to define the clear rules for that, including how to share the land and how to exploit the land. But it could be also a real opportunity for the Ivorian economy also, but with clear rules and not in contradiction with human rights standards, of course.
And now, just finally, we're coming to the last minute, really, of what we have time for here today. Looking into the crystal ball on Sunday, whoever wins, what is the biggest challenge for Côte d'Ivoire? Because the economy is booming, you think things are going much better than they did years ago. What is the main challenge for the country?
Justice and reconciliation.
Which hasn't been implemented. They never set up a truth and reconciliation
absolutely.
tribunal.
It was a quite fake process, and people need to know who kills their own parents and have to be accountable for that. And that will allow also to put those actors of violence out of the political game.
Florent Geel, thank you very much
you.
for coming into the programme today. Well, that's all we have for our broadcast here today at Paris Live PM, but we'll be back on Monday at the same time, same place here on Radio France International. From me, David Coffey, have a very good weekend. Bye-bye.